All right. So here we go. We are exam number 5 is tomorrow. And this looks like it is super crooked. So let me fix this. Make this a little better for you guys. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties earlier. All right, how we doing here? Better, kind of straighter. Okay. All right, this way. No, this way. All right, here we go. So tomorrow's exams, a lot of review. When we solve these, what you just really need to be careful with are your negatives and the signs. So these ones are really easy to graph because you're graphing on a number line. And the number line will be provided for you on the exam. So when we solve these, it's going to be pretty easy. I'm just going to add 1 to both sides. And then I'm going to get 3x is greater than 9. I'm going to solve it like a regular equation. Divide both sides by 3. And x is greater than 3. Okay. When you do these, you'll be given a number line. I'm just going to draw one real quick here. Okay. So you have 3. And remember, the things you need to remember here are the open circle. So this one is for greater than and less than. And then the closed circle, which is for that one, and that's greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So these make a difference. Remember, open and closed circles. So this one right here, x is greater than 3. You're going to have an open circle on 3, and x is greater than that, so you're going to the right. So open circle to the right. This guy right here, we're going to divide both sides by a -4. And when you divide both sides by a -4, you have to flip the direction of your sign. So this is going to be x is greater than or equal to -2. And we have 8 divided by a -4 is a -2. So on your graph, just put in a -2. I'm going to put a closed circle because there's a greater than or equal to. And x is greater than -2, which is going this way. To the right is greater than, to the left is less than. Okay. Third question. I'm going to distribute. So I get 6x minus 2 is less than 10. I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I'm just going to move this up here real quick. 6x minus 2 is less than 10. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. 6x is less than 12. Divide both sides by 6. X is less than 2. On your graph, open circle on 2. And it's less than, so it's to the left. Sorry. Okay, right here, one's a little trickier. I'm going to add x to both sides. That's going to give me, I'm going to move this over here. That's going to give me 2x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 1. I'm going to subtract 1 to both sides. 2x is greater than or equal to 0. That does not mean there's no solution. It means that you divide out by 2, and x is greater than or equal to 0. So for this guy right here, you have 0. You're going to have a closed circle, and x is greater than 0. Right here, I'm going to multiply both sides by a -4. And when I do that, I have to change the direction of the sign because I'm multiplying by a negative. Remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to change the direction of your sign. So that's going to give me x is greater than -2 times -4, which is a +8. On your line, you have 8, open circle, and x is greater than 8. It's going to go that way. Okay, so those are on your test tomorrow. Shouldn't be too difficult. I don't anticipate you guys having any problems with that, so that should be good to go. All right. this is going to come back again, finding x and y intercepts. Remember, to find an x-intercept, you need to make y equal to 0. To find a y-intercept, you make x equal to 0. So let's find our x-intercept first. We're going to make y equal to 0. It's the same as just kind of covering it up right there. So we get 5x is equal to 10, and x is equal to 2. My x-intercept is at 2, 0. Let's zoom in a little bit there. Okay. My y-intercept, I make x equal to 0, so I just get rid of that. So that's negative 2y. That's negative 2y equals 10. Y equals negative 5. My y-intercept is 0, negative 5. Slope. It's best to put this in y equals mx plus b form to find your slope. So we have 5x minus 2y equals 10. I'm going to subtract 5x to both sides. I get negative 2y equals negative 5x plus 10. Divide everything out by a negative 2. And y is equal to 5/2 x minus 5. Okay, so my slope is right here. My slope for this is 5/2. All right, to graph. Get some graph paper here. Okay, so to graph, I'm graphing this line, y equals 5 over 2x minus 5. And so unprepared, I don't even have a ruler. I'm going to freehand it. Here's my axis. Start at negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to go down 5 over 2 or up 5 over 2. It doesn't matter which way you go. You can go down 5 and to the right or up 5 and to the left. So this way might be easier depending on how big your graph is. If you don't like it like that, you can definitely go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 2. And then my line, do this right here. My line looks like that. So you just graph. I don't think very many people missed the graphing the line questions on the last exam. You guys tend to do very well with that. So that's just plugging in a graph. Okay. Is 2, 0 on the line? You're going to plug that in for x and y to see if 2, 0 is in fact on the line. So mathematically what that looks like, let me bring this back here. We have y equals negative 5 over 2x minus 5. And they want to know, is 2, 0 on the line? Well, you had it for your x-intercept here, so it's definitely on the line. But I'm going to show you mathematically how to tell if it's on the line, yes or no. And you're just going to plug that in for your x and your y. Okay, so 0 is equal to negative 5 over 2 times 2. Sorry, did I make a mistake here? Is my slope positive 5 over 2? It is positive 5 over 2. Darn it. Scratch that. Fix that for you guys. My slope, one of you guys needs to chime in here and catch it when I fix that for you guys. My slope, one of you guys needs to chime in here and catch it when I equals 5 over 2x minus 5. So again, starting at 5, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going up 5 and over 2. My line looks like that. Okay. And then y equals 5 over 2x minus 5. I want to know if that's on the line. So 0 is equal to 5 over 2 times 2 minus 5. So I want to see if this side is going to equal 0. So right here, I'm going to get that's equal to 10 over 2 minus 5, which is equal to 5 minus 5, which equals 0. And 0 does in fact equal 0. So 2, 0 is on the line. Now, that was also my x-intercept. So that was an easy one just to see without doing any math. But right here, this is where you guys should have come in and you can just plug in. So here's your x, here's your y. Don't make the same mistake I did by adding a negative where you shouldn't. Okay, so yes, this guy is on the line. Is 2, 0 on the line? Yes. And then what is f of negative 4? Remember, that's where you're plugging in that for x. So let's take our same equation that you wrote. Y is equal to 5/2 x minus 5. Let me double check it again to make sure it's okay. Y is equal to 5/2 x minus 5. And I want to know what f of negative 4 equals. So I'm plugging that in for x. Y is equal to 5/2 times negative 4 minus 5. Let's deal with this part first. Y is equal to negative 20/2 minus 5. Y is equal to negative 10 minus 5. So y is equal to negative 15. Okay, you're just plugging in. All right, so for this one, you're just plugging that in for your x. Okay, and that's what you get for that equation. Move that out of the way. Okay, number 3. Which lines are parallel? To determine if lines are parallel, you're looking for the same slope. Same slope. Okay. My slope here is negative 2/3. So some of these I can take out from the very beginning. This guy right here, he's good to go because he's negative 2/3. They match. So same slope. So D is yes. This guy right here, he's a no. His slope is 3/2. Okay. These ones I'm going to convert, so I'll come back. But this guy right here, he's a positive 2/3. If I were to add 4 to both sides, it's not changing my slope in any way. So B, that guy's a no. He doesn't work. Okay, let's try these right here. And we're going to put these in y equals mx plus b form. So in order to do that, I am going to subtract my 2x to both sides. So I'm going to get 3y equals negative 2x minus 10. I don't care what my y-intercept is at all. I'm only interested in what the slope is. And then when I divide both sides by 3, I get y equals negative 2/3 x minus 10/3. My slope here is negative 2/3. This way, sorry. That's what I want. So this guy right here is yes. And the last one for C, we're going to do the same thing. You need to put that in y equals mx plus b form to see the slope. Let me zoom in so you guys can see that. And I'm going to do that by subtracting 4x to both sides. So 6y equals negative 4x plus 10. I'm going to divide everything by 6. And y equals negative 4/6x plus 10/6. Okay. What you really need to make sure you know how to do is that you can reduce that. And that reduces to negative 2/3. So this guy is good too. So he's a yes, yes, and yes. They're all parallel. They all have the same slope. All right. Okay. Which lines are perpendicular? Let me go back up here. Sorry. Okay, perpendicular. That means we need opposite. So that's the positive, negative. And we need the reciprocal. Okay, that's the flip. So if my slope is negative 2, the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. The reciprocal, the flip of 2, is 1/2. So I'm looking for a slope of 1/2. Anything that has a slope of 1/2 is my perpendicular slope. So this guy right here, he's negative 1/2. He's already out. No good. The other guy right below him, okay, his slope is 2. Even if I were to subtract 2 to both sides, my slope here is still 2. That guy's no good. He is out as well. Remember, I'm looking for a 1/2. This guy right here, his slope is -2. Again, no good. Okay, don't want that either. This one's in point slope form. There's my slope right there. It's 1/2. This one's 1/2. So this guy is good to go. A is a yes. And then for here, we need to put that in y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to get -6y equals -3x plus 9. I'm going to divide everything out by a -6. And I get y equals 3 over 6. Positive 3 over 6 because it's a negative, minus 9 over 6. And then you just need to know that that's actually going to reduce to 1/2. So B is parallel also. So A and B perpendicular. Work for perpendicular. All right, remember perpendicular is opposite and reciprocal. All right, a lot of spiral from last week's test. How many solutions? How many solutions do we have? Your choices are 1, none, or infinite. That's how many solutions you can have. Okay? And one solution, that will look like a point. That's going to be an x and a y. You're actually going to get a solution. You're going to find, when you solve it, a value for x and a value for y. That's going to look like a line going here, a line going there. They cross. There's your intersection. You have one solution. None, okay, no solutions, means you have parallel lines. Okay? And a way you can look for parallel lines is the same slope. Same slope, parallel lines. Again, all of this is just stuff that you guys see over and over and over again. And then infinitely many solutions means you have the same line twice. Okay? All right, so let's check this out. These are both in slope-intercept form. I can already identify my slopes very easily as being parallel. So I know this is going to be none. I'm going to have no solutions for this. If you don't see it like that, okay, let's say you missed that part, you can just substitute. So let's substitute that in for that, and let's solve. So 2x plus 1 equals 2x minus 6. When I subtract 2x to both sides, my variables drop out, and I get 1 equals -6. That is not true, so I know I have no solution. So this guy right here is none. Okay? Means it has no intersections. You have parallel lines. Okay? This guy right here, when you solve these, it doesn't matter what method you use. You can use any method you want. So for this one, I would prefer to use elimination because I have a -3y and a positive 3y here. So I'm going to do that. Those guys are going to cross out. I'm going to add these up, and I'm going to get 2x is equal to 2. 2x is equal to 2. And then when I solve that, I'm going to get x equals 1. All right. Now, for a problem like this, again, it doesn't ask you what the solution is. It just wants to know how many it has. And so as soon as I solved one and I got an answer for x, like it makes sense, I know that this guy right here is going to have one solution. I don't care what the y is. One solution. I can plug it back in and get the y, but it's not asking me for that. So just do what it asks you to do. And in this case, it's going to be one solution. Okay. Down here, I think for this one, I would just prefer to multiply the top by a -2. So when I do that, I'm going to multiply everything up here by a -2. That's going to give me -10x. I'm just distributing that, plus 6y equals -4. My second equation is 10x minus 6y equals 6. And if you look, Both of my variables drop out and I get negative 4 equals 6. That's not true. So that's another no solution. That's none. That has no solutions. And then the last one here. For this one, I would probably like to multiply my top by a negative 2 so I can get rid of that. So I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to get negative 8x minus 6y equals negative 2. And my other equation is 8x plus 6y equals 2. Everything drops out. It's 0 is equal to 0. That is true. That's the same line. I have infinite solutions like that. Okay, so there are a few problems like that, just how many solutions. And your easiest thing to do, honestly, to eliminate some, check out your slopes. Okay, solving systems here. I can tell you what the answer is just by looking at it. I hope you guys are getting used to this because I have, again, the same slopes. Okay, but if you don't see it, 4x minus 2 equals 4x plus 1. I'm substituting. I'm taking this and plugging it in for y. And when I solve, I get negative 2 equals 1. Not true, no solution. Okay. For b, you could move one of these variables over and substitute. You could multiply the top by a negative 2 and get rid of the x's. You could multiply the top by a negative 3 and get rid of the y's. So it doesn't matter what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the top by a negative 2. That's going to give me negative 2x minus 2y equals negative 6. My second equation, I'm going to keep the same. My x's drop out right there. I have negative 2y and positive 3y, which is just y, and that equals 4. Okay? Not done. Got to plug it back in. So I'm going to plug it back into this equation because that is the easiest equation, this guy right here. I'm going to get x plus 4 equals 3. Subtract 4 to both sides. X equals negative 1. And your answer for these should always be written as an ordered pair when you're just solving. So there you go for that. All right, new material. I'm going to show you guys 2 different ways to do these. My class was 50-50, almost 50-50 split on which way they liked better. When you write an equation parallel, and I should have written it on here, but we're going to ask you to write the equation in slope-intercept form in y equals mx plus b form. You only use this equation to get the slope, and then you get rid of that. So you need the point, you need your x and your y point, and you need a slope. So I'm looking for a parallel slope. There's my slope. It's 4 over 3. A parallel slope to that is still 4 over 3. So that's what I'm going to use for this. And in order to do that, I'm going to do it 2 different ways. Again, you can choose which way you want to do this. So I'm going to do it in point slope first, and then I'll do it in slope intercept. So here's my point slope equation. It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? And I'm just going to plug in. So I'm going to get y minus 3 equals 4/3 x minus 12. And then I'm going to keep solving. So I'm going to get y minus 3. I'm going to distribute equals 4/3 x minus 4/3 times 12. On your exam, these numbers should come out whole. So if they don't come out whole, you've probably done something wrong. Let me do this real quick. That's 4/3 times 12. I'm just going to bring it over here. 4/3 times 12. It's like 12 over 1. I'm going to go ahead and cross cancel. So my answer is going to be 16. So I'm going to get y minus 3 equals 4 over 3x minus 16. I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and y equals 4 over 3x minus 13. Okay, there's my equation of the line using point-slope form. If you want to use slope-intercept form, you can do it this way. Again, like I said, my class was like a 50-50 split on which way they liked. Same deal, using x and y. 3 is equal to m, which is your 4/3, times x plus b. Now I'm solving for b. So I'm just looking for my, my y-intercept here. Again, you still have to deal with that fraction regardless of which way you pick. So 3 is equal to, we already know what that is, it's 16. 3 is equal to 16 plus b. When I subtract 16 to both sides, b is equal to negative 13. Now remember, you didn't solve your, that's not the equation. This is just the y-intercept, which you got here as well. So on this side, you just need to plug them back in. So y is equal to 4 over 3 x minus 13. Either way works. It's up to you on which format you like. Both are going to get you the right answer. So for this guy right here, I'm going to do it again both ways so you guys can pick which way you like. I'm looking again for parallel. My slope here is negative 4. So my m is negative 4. Once I figure out what my slope is, that equation is done. I have negative 4 for my slope. I have negative 2 for my x. I have 5 for my y, and I can plug in any way I want. I'm going to do point slope first. So again, that's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. If you don't like this method, use the y equals mx plus b, whatever way you prefer. So I'm going to plug it in here first. I'm going to get y minus 5, because there's my y, and that's part of the equation, equals negative 4 times x, and this is going to be plus 2. So careful here. This negative is part of the equation. Your x is already negative. It's going to be plus 2. Go ahead and distribute here. Y minus 5 equals negative 4x minus 8. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Y equals negative 4x minus 3. I'll do the same thing here. 5 is equal to negative 4 times negative 2 plus b. 5 is equal to 8 plus b. Subtract 8 to both sides. B is equal to negative 3. I already know I did it right because my negative 3 was here as well. So this equation, again, you just need to plug it back into y equals mx plus b, is going to be y equals your slope, negative 4x minus 3. Okay. Either way, you're doing the same thing here, except you want a perpendicular slope. Okay, perpendicular. So again, you want the opposite and the reciprocal. So we're looking for opposite and reciprocal. And I probably should have picked a better one for this one, but because your slope here is 1, the opposite of 1 is negative 1. The reciprocal of negative 1 is still negative 1. So my new slope is negative 1. I'm going to do it again, same way that I did these. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Here's my x and my y. Y minus 5 equals negative 1 times x plus 6. Okay, I'm plugging that in. That's negative. It's negative here, so I get the positive. Y minus 5 equals negative 1x minus 6. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Y equals negative 1x minus 1. Okay, doing it the other way for you. I'm going to get 5 is equal to negative 1 times negative 6 plus b. 5 is equal to 6 plus b. I'm going to subtract 6 to both sides. B is equal to negative 1. My slope is negative 1. So again, same thing again. Y equals negative 1x minus 1. Okay. And the last one, I do believe both of these are on your test tomorrow. You're going to have to do one parallel and one perpendicular. It's worth your time. There's my slope. It's 1/6. I need the opposite and the reciprocal. The opposite would make it negative 1/6, and the reciprocal is going to make it 6. So I have my new slope is negative 6. This is positive, so it's going to be negative. Flipping it around is going to make it a negative 6. And again, I'll do it both ways again. Okay. Any way you like it is fine with me. Y minus 4 equals negative 6. X minus 2. Y minus 4 equals negative 6x plus 12. Add 4 to both sides. Y equals negative 6x plus 16. Doing it this way, 4 equals negative 6 times 2 plus b. 4 equals negative 12 plus b. Add 12 to both sides. B equals 16. So you know we're good again. Y equals negative 6x plus 16. So that guy is good. Take a minute. Again, both of those with those, you're going to be fine either way. Okay. Simplifying. This is the part where I think most people will get this part wrong. You guys will do fine here, but this part right here, this guy right here is a negative 4. Okay, that exponent only goes with that 2. So this is just like 2 squared with a negative in front. So it's negative 4. I'm going to address this plus 5 times, we have to do the parentheses, negative 3 divided by 3. And then I still need to work left to right, and I need to do multiplication and division first since my exponents and stuff are gone. So I get negative 4 minus 15 divided by 3. Because 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. And I still need to work this part first. So I'm going to get negative 4 minus 5, which is going to equal negative 9. All right. Down here, I'm going to distribute. That's going to give me 6 minus 12x equals 12x minus 10. I'm going to add 12x to both sides. That will give me 6 is equal to 24x minus 10. I'll add 10. That's going to equal 24x. I divide both sides by 24. And x is equal to 16 over 24. You can leave your answer like that unless it says to simplify, in which you would need to divide out by 8, reduce that. That's going to be 2/3. And remember, when you're solving an equation, a fraction answer. These are all fractions anyway, but don't get freaked out. I'm just looking to see if you can manipulate an equation. Okay. Here's the kicker for this one right here. It's this problem. It's an application problem. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it. And this is going to kind of mirror what's going to happen on your test. You're going to get a graph like this, and you're going to have to write the equation of a line. So it's going to ask you to write an equation of a line. So we're going to use y equals mx plus b form for the veteran's plan. Okay, and my veteran's plan is this guy right here. Okay, I'll go with him in purple right now. Here's my veteran's plan. That's it right there. Okay, so how do you go about writing an equation of the line? Well, the easiest thing for you to do would be to start with the b. That's your y-intercept. So we have your y-intercept and you have your slope. Okay, so let's just start with the b. So write an equation for the veteran's plan. If I know it needs to look like this, let me just start plugging it in. My y-intercept is at 40. So I know that this part needs to be plus 40. And my equation is going to be y equals something x plus 40. I need my slope. Well, good news about these graphs, you can just count. But make sure you're counting correctly because this is not 1, 2, 3. These are in increments of 20. So if this is 40, I'm going up 20, 40, 60. I'm going up 60. And how is it scaled to this way, to the right? It's scaled in singles. So I'm going up 20, 40, 60 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 60 over 4. Okay, that's your equation of the line. You can reduce that to that if you'd like. You don't have to. Sometimes that's going to be easier though, and I'll show you when that's going to be easier, but just this is full credit. That's correct. Okay. Now let's write an equation for the beginner's plan. Here's the beginner's plan, and we're going to go about it the same way. Let me just get that guy right there for you guys to see. The beginner's plan, we're going to still use y equals mx plus b. So y equals something x plus something. We know our b, we're starting at 40. So we're just going to plug 40 in right there. And let's just count for our slope again. We know it intersects right here. So we're going to go up 20, 40, 60. Let's see. 20, 40. Oh, I did this one wrong. No, I didn't. Let me see. Did I do the beginner's plan wrong? No, I did. The beginner's plan is at 60 here. There it is right there. Sorry, beginner plan's at 60. So I'm going up 20, 40, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my y-intercept at 60. I'm going up 20, up 40, over 1, 2, 3, 4. So 40 over 4, y equals 10x plus 60. Okay. Always start with your y-intercept. It's going to make it the easiest. Okay, what does the intersection mean in the context of the problem? So there's your intersection. It doesn't want to know that the intersection is 4, 100. Okay, 4, 100. That doesn't mean anything for us, especially when we're talking about money. So a correct answer for this, if you were to write it in a complete sentence, you would need to come up with something like at 4 months, because this is in months, both the veterans plan and the beginner's plan will be $100. At 4 months, it's $100. Okay, so that's a complete answer for C. Telling me that 4, 100, it's a point where they intersect, that's not helping me out in the context of the problem. Yeah, that's the intersection, but what does that mean? Okay, D, at 10 months, who has the better plan? Well, here's 10, and let me go up, and at the beginner's plan is $160. So the beginner's plan is $160 at 10 months. The veteran's plan is about $190. So at 10 months, this guy has the cheaper plan, okay? Because you can see it on the graph. Now, if they ask you how much it is, or they want to know at 15 months, maybe 15 months isn't on the graph, you would just need to plug it in, okay? That's what you would need to plug in. So sometimes it's easier if you just go ahead and do this. Remember, your X is your the months, and the Y is the cost of the plan. So when you have this, Y is the cost, X is the months. So if I wanted 15 months, I would just pop it in for X and solve. Okay, I hope that makes sense for you guys. All right, word problems, okay? For this exam, the word problems are actually broken down a little bit better for you. It's going to ask you to identify a variable. It's going to ask you to write one equation like this, and then the next equation, and then solve. It's going to have it be a little bit easier for you than just here's everything. Okay, so what I'll do is we can set these up, and you can make your X and Y variables whatever you'd like. And let's see, I haven't done these yet, so I hope these work out. I just randomly found these on the internet. So I will try these out with you, and we can see what we get. Because like I said, I don't know what the answers to these are. I haven't seen them yet. Okay, so for this one, Okay, Elisa and Daryl are selling cheesecakes for a school fundraiser. Customers can buy New York style cheesecakes and chocolate marble cheesecakes. So you have two choices. I always like to just get to the end and look for the question. So, what is the cost of one New York style cheesecake and one chocolate marble cheesecake? All right. So, that's what I'm looking for. That's my X and my Y. I know that I'm going to make my X equal a New York cheesecake. So X is New York and Y is the marble cheesecake. Okay. So if you ask to write one equation, you want to write the equation for Elisa's cheesecakes. She sold 4 times the cost of the New Yorks because she sold 4 New York cheesecakes. And she sold 3 marble cheesecakes for a grand total of $64. Okay. Daryl sold 11 New York style cheesecakes. I don't see this working out. And 1 marble cheesecake for a total of $60. I don't really see this working out very well. Let's see. Maybe it will. All right. You can substitute, you can eliminate these numbers. I mean, you could multiply this bottom one by a -3. Maybe it'll work out. We can multiply this bottom one by a -3 and that'll go away. So we can do it that way. You can move this 11 over, this 11x over, and you'll get, you can substitute that in for y. I feel like my class likes to eliminate more. So let's go ahead and eliminate. I'm going to multiply the bottom by a -3. Okay, that's going to give me -33x minus 3y equals -180. Okay, because that's just 3 times 60 right there. And then I've got positive 4x plus 3y equals 64. Let's see. Hopefully this will work out with a nice whole number. If it doesn't, then we probably did something wrong. Or maybe this problem's just wrong since not everything on the internet's great. Let's look. So 33 minus 4. I'm still going to get a negative here, but you can see why my negative is going to be okay. I'm going to have negative 29x. That guy's going to go away. And when I subtract this, I'm going to get negative 176. And it's fine here because I'm getting a negative. I think something important to always look at when you're doing equations like this is to, oops, that's not 76, that's 116, sorry, is to look at your negatives. When I divide out by a negative 29, my answer is going to be positive, which makes sense because I can't have a negative amount of cheesecakes. So you want to make sure that your number doesn't come out negative and make sure your answer makes sense. So when I do that, look at that, it is going to come out okay. So I've got 29, 30, 60, 90, 4. So x equals 4. So what did I just find? I just found the cost of a New York cheesecake. Okay, the New York cheesecake costs $4. And then I need to figure out how much a marble cheesecake costs. So again, it doesn't matter which equation we use. I'm going to plug it into the first one. So I'm going to get 4 times 4 plus 3y equals 64. That gets me 16 plus 3y equals 64. Subtract 16 to both sides. 3y is equal to 48. Okay, and then when you divide that out by 3, y is equal to 16. Okay, so what that means is that the New York cheesecake costs $4 each, and the marble cheesecake costs $16 each. I would just go with the New York if you're going to save that much money. Okay. So again, something very important with things like this, if you're selling tickets or putting students on a van or a bus, your numbers aren't going to be negative. So yeah, I have them here, but they're canceling out to make it positive. You can't have negative people. You can't have negative tickets. You can't have a negative cheesecake cost. So just be aware for that. Okay, let's do the second one. And remember, with these, you're going to get points for setting up each equation. You'll get points for solving it correctly. So this gives you an opportunity to get to get partial credit. So if you're really having a hard time, then it'll, do what you can do to get the partial credit. And your numbers won't be this big. They're going to be a lot easier. Okay, so let's look at the last one. We have Deshaun and Gabriella are selling flower bulbs for a school fundraiser. Again, if you are not the reader, get to the point. Find the cost of one package of tulips and one package of crocus bulbs. So I know that my variables need to find X, which is going to be the cost of tulips, and Y, which is going to be the cost of a crocus bulb. I have no idea what that is, but it doesn't matter. So here we go. Let's look at Deshaun's first. Deshaun sold 6 packages of tulip bulbs. So 6 tulips. So 6 times X. And 14 packages of crocus bulbs. And 14 of however much those cost. And spent $294. So there's the first one. And then Gabriella sold 1 package of tulips and 2 packages of crocus bulbs for a total of $43. Okay, so she sold 1 tulip, 2 of the crocus, and she spent $43. So again, however you would like to go about solving this, or if you wanted to move this over and then substitute it in for X, you could do that. If you wanted to multiply the bottom by -7 to cross that out, if you wanted to multiply this by -6 to get rid of that, multiple ways to go about this. Because my class likes to eliminate, I'm just going to do it that way. So that's going to give me -6x minus 12y equals, let's see what 43 times 6 is, 258. And that is negative. And then my other equation is 6x plus 14y equals 294. I'm going to get a positive 2y. That's going away. I have positive 14 and negative 12. And then here I have 294 minus 258. Let's do the math there. It's going to get me 36. Again, positive, positive. I can't have negative amounts of tulips or crocus bulbs. So make sure your answer makes sense. Divide out everything by 2, and y equals 18. So what did I just find? I just found the cost of 1 crocus bulb. Okay, so 1 crocus bulb costs $18. And then I need the cost of a tulip, so I can plug it into this equation. I think this one's probably the easiest right there. The numbers are way smaller than that one. So I'm going to get 1x plus 2 times 18 equals 43. Sorry, you guys can't see that. It gives me x plus 36 equals 43. Subtract 36 to both sides. X is going to equal 7. So 1 tulip costs $7. And 1 crocus bulb costs 18. All right. So those are your systems. And like I said, you're going to get points for setting up the equations. So like a point, solving it. Explaining what the answer means is very important, not just getting the number, but explaining what you found. What did you just find? Great, x is equal to 7. Well, 7 is the cost of 1 tulip. So make sure you guys can explain it. That brings us to a close on this review sheet. I do have this one that Mr. Chong did. And I think the only thing on here that I didn't put on mine, you had to write a slope-intercept form of the equation. That's just looking at the graph. We did that. I think the only thing in here was this one right here. This is the only thing we didn't do that's on your exam. So I'm going to just zoom in real quick so you guys can see this. And this is writing your equation, writing an inequality from a graph. If you don't have this at home, you can send me an email right now and I will scan this and send it to you. But let me just draw this in so you guys can see what we've got here. Okay, so for this one, you're working backwards. Like in the very beginning, we solved the inequality and we graphed it. These guys, you're doing it the other way. So what we're looking for, remember, we're looking for greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. If you're going this way, it's greater. If you're going that way, it's less. So we're just going to pick a variable. I'm going to call it x. So for a question like this is going to be x is greater than, because it's an open circle. Okay, remember this is just greater or less. That's an open circle. And then the closed circle is the equal to's. So this guy is x is greater than 4. That's it. You're just looking at it and telling me what the inequality is. And then this guy right here, closed circle. So I know I need to do this. So I'm just going to call it x. And we're going to the left, which is less than. So x is less than or equal to, closed circle. So we got to, don't forget the equal to, positive 3. And that's it. So I think this is the only question that was on here that wasn't on my review sheet. Other things, he's got a couple extra word problems if you want those. So shoot me an email if you want this one. I have it scanned and I can send it to you. Again, my email is here. You can get me through the school website too if you need. So tlt4761@lausd.net. If you want to email me, I can get you this one. If you need tutoring, remember tomorrow's a Tuesday, so you need to be a little bit more time conscious with your exam because you do have a shorter period. So for tutoring, for school tutoring is going to be a little bit more difficult because I know you guys aren't going to get to school so early. But if you do want lunchtime tutoring, I have a lunchtime meeting tomorrow and I will be in Mr. Ramstad's room, which I believe is room 150 at lunch. I can help you guys out for that test. If you also at lunch, you can go see Mr. Finch or Mr. Kemple. They'll be in 107 tomorrow, I think, because they have a meeting, so they can help you out with this. And in between, we won't have an in between third and fourth, so you guys are going to run out of time tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit crunched, but I don't think it should be a problem. This test is a lot of review, a ton of review. There's not a lot of new material, so you should not have any problems. Again, email me if you want this review sheet. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. Good night. Don't study too hard. Get some rest and try to be on time tomorrow because you're going to have less time to take your exam. Good night.